Success for Assata's daughters, in the broadest sense, looks like the achievement of Black liberation. It looks like the achievement of self-determination. My name is Christian Snow. I work as the executive director of Assata's Daughters. Assata's Daughters is a Black women-led, young Black people-directed organization. We provide young Black people with political education, leadership development, and revolutionary services in order to organize them in Chicago. When I think of impact, I really do think of the work of Assata's Daughters. One of the main reasons why we provide revolutionary support, for instance, to young Black people in the city is because we have an understanding that folks, we were never meant to survive. And so we say revolutionary support when we're talking about the money we provide young people for their labor, when we're talking about the food that we provide at every program, when we're talking about the support that we provide throughout the community, assistance for short-term emergency needs, because we need to survive in order to get to the part where we're thriving. In order to get to the place where we can organize together, we need to have an impact on folks' daily lives. We see impact as the work we do to push back the barriers and to take away, as Assata would say, the foot that's on our necks. We were really happy and excited to receive the Barrow Award. Reverend Barrow has impacted Chicago in ways that are at the core and foundation of who we are as an organizing-based city. We are more than proud to be seen in the lineage of her work and are really excited to be a part of anything that's honoring her.
Believe in yourself. Know that you can do it, and regardless of all the obstacles, you can make it through. My name is Wendy Pollock, and I'm the Women's Law and Policy Initiative Director at the Sargent Shriver National Center on Poverty Law. We draw on the experiences of women and girls in the Shriver Center's analysis of poverty and the development of solutions. Women make up the majority of people who are living in poverty, the people who are working for minimum wage, and this data is just out there and it's significant, and it's even more true for women of color. I think success is that I have helped improve someone's life, whether it's actually getting them out of poverty, whether it's making sure that they are not discriminated against, whether, they're not experiencing sexual harassment anymore, that they get a raise, that they get time off, paid time off. That's success. And I've been partnering with Chicago Foundation for Women for definitely over 20 years. I can remember getting my first grant. Chicago Foundation for Women Support over the years has just allowed me to do this work. And, and without question, they've backed myself and the Women's Law and Policy Initiative and the Shriver Center in our efforts to make a better world for women and girls.
Impact is really about the little changes that you can make in someone's life that positively influence them. My name is Christina Frazek. I am the co-founder and co-executive director of Scourge and former founder of SRJ at Loyola. SRJ is Students for Reproductive Justice, which is a student organizing group that is not recognized by the university that is organizing at Loyola University Chicago. Scourge stands for the Student Coalition for Reproductive Justice, which is a pending national nonprofit that works with student groups across the country organizing around sexual and reproductive health care on Catholic campuses. For me, what motivates me to keep going is kind of recognizing where I was 4 years ago. I was 20 years old, and based on a number of circumstances, I was not on birth control when I became sexually active, and a condom broke, and I had to contemplate how I would deal with a potentially unplanned pregnancy. And so remembering the fear and shame that came from that, of being told you made this mistake and it's all your fault, and not knowing where to go and not being able to turn to my on-campus community because the campus clinic didn't offer those services, and not having a healthcare provider in Chicago that took my insurance. Like, that was such a big and formative moment in my life where I recognized, like, I don't want anyone else to have to experience kind of those fears and those feelings of shame around something that is very natural and is why we have things like emergency contraception. Where I take the biggest inspiration is actually a piece of Chicago history with the Jane Collective, where Heather Booth, as a student at the University of Chicago, founded the Janes and began providing abortions and connecting people with abortion services in the pre-Roe era. And so I think what we see the work of student organizers doing on campuses through SRJ Scourge and kind of across the country, we see kind of all of these forces contributing to the long and very rich history of students organizing around issues that matter and that reflect kind of the broader cultural climate of the moment.
You don't have to do everything, you just have to do your part. My name is Imani Rupert Gordon. I'm the Executive Director for Affinity Community Services, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Affinity is a social justice organization, and we serve the entire LGBTQ community with an emphasis on serving Black LGBTQ plus women. It's our thought that if we highlight a most marginalized group within an already marginalized population, then everyone stands to benefit from it. And we know that it doesn't work the other way. Affinity prioritizes 3 different strategic priorities, so health, wellness, and safety, education, and then organizing, advocacy, and civic engagement. When I think about what motivated me to start doing this work, it's really wanting to see people like me represented. I remember when I came out that someone said that would be really important for me to be very open that I came out as a queer person, because she was explaining that she didn't know a lot of Black queer women, and she knew that young people thought that this was something that Black women couldn't experience, that if someone identified as queer or as part of the LGBTQ community, that they couldn't be a Black woman in doing that. So when I think about the way that I started doing this work, I think about just trying to be more inclusive and make it possible for people to be able to be themselves.
The best advice I've ever received is from my mother, who was personally a role model to me, and she always said to question everything, and she particularly said to question the status quo. My name is Neha Gill, and I'm the Executive Director of Upnagar. We started out serving the South Asian community because community members realized that there were high incidents of domestic violence and sexual assault and other forms of gender-based violence in the community that they were living in and knew people in. So it started out as a crisis line responding to those calls. But 30 years later, we're serving all underserved immigrant refugee communities, as well as other vulnerable and marginalized communities. I think success in the work that I do at Upnagar, because we're really trying to figure out how do we really end gender-based violence, I think success would look like not having that in our communities. I know that we have a long way to go because there's just a lot of systemic and structural issues that we're sort of dealing with, but I think ultimately that is what success would look like.
I was told by my mother that people will remember you by how you treated them. My name is Colette Payne. I work for Cabrini Green Legal Aid, and I am the policy associate there. The women I work with have been formerly incarcerated, and I facilitate a group at Grace House on the west side of Chicago. We're trying to figure out how we're going to change systems in the world around us. At 14, I remember my mom asking, what can be done so my child, my baby, won't have to go to prison? And there was no services for a mother of 6 who was poor and trying to support her family. So that was my pathway starting at 14, and I've been to prison 5 times. It is something that I'm not proud of. However, it helped shape the work that I'm doing now. And going inside the prison, we offer services. We do sort of like a Know Your Right presentation when it comes to the needs of mothers who are incarcerated, knowing your rights like how to fill out a form for temporary custody, for permanent custody. Who are my children going to go to if I have to serve a lengthy sentence? And just educating the community on the incarceration of women and girls and the pathways that lead them there. Domestic violence, sexual assaults, any type of abuse. So movers and shakers, I remember it was this saying while incarcerated in the county that they would always say when they're coming around to do a check to make sure if you're alive. Shake something, move something. So they would beat on the door and they would say, shake something, move something. And I was like, okay, movers and shakers, I bet you that they didn't think that I would have come this far. I am a mover and shaker. They wanted me to shake something and move something, but I'm doing it in a different way.